Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Dueling Disney podcast. I'm your host, Andy Zilberman.
And I'm your other host, Al Day.
And we are coming to you on video. But you might be listening to us on audio on the podcast, and that's okay too. But just know that we are putting this on YouTube so you can see us or you in person.
If you're listening to this and you're only hearing the audio and not seeing the video, something's gone horribly wrong. Call your doctor.
Yeah. Okay, whatever that means. Anyway, okay, so tell me about your... let's talk about why we're here. We're here in my basement because Al has a conference in Portland this week, and so we had to do something together.
Yeah, and this is our first actual recording of the Dueling Disney podcast in the same actual physical room.
Exactly.
Not thousands of miles apart.
Exactly. So, what was your Disney week?
Oh, I got a lot of Disney week, but the Disney week I want to talk about, and it's actually going to be promoting another podcast, which is the You Must Remember This podcast.
Okay.
Which is done. I've listened to it for years. It's a podcast. Karina Longworth, I believe her name is, does a podcast all about like old Hollywood history. It's a really terrific podcast. And this season, and she does like whole seasons of on a topic. This season, she's doing Song of the South.
I want to
which is so every episode is like a different aspect. I already listened to the first episode where she just sort of does an overview of Song of the South and how people reacted to it when it first came out. The second episode, which is on my to listen to list, is all about Hattie McDaniel, who was the first African American woman to win an Oscar for Gone with the Wind, and who was also in Song of the South. And I think she's going to do like 6 episodes all on Song of the South. So I'm super stoked about it.
Yeah, I need to listen to that.
Yeah,
I need to listen to that. Just because all of my knowledge of Song of the South is from when I was a kid, when I saw it in the theater.
Well, that's the weird thing. Like, I have only seen Song of the South as an adult on a bootleg version. I never saw it when I was a kid.
Well, yeah, because you guys didn't go to the theater as much as we did.
No, we didn't go to the theater very much. I saw Star Wars. That was awesome.
Yeah, I saw Star Wars with my dad, but Song of the South with my mom.
Yeah, I saw Pinocchio. I mean, we went to the movies. I remember seeing a lot of Candle Shoe.
God, you keep bringing up Candle
Because it's going to be on Disney Plus, and it's one of the first things I'm going to watch.
Disney Plus is 1 week away, people. I'm very excited about Disney Plus. I can't even tell you.
I'm super stoked about Disney Plus, and I'm annoyed because I wanted it to come on the first day of the 3-day weekend, and it's going to come like right after the 3-day weekend.
Yeah, what is that all about? Disney.
Come on, Disney, get it together.
I don't understand that either. Okay.
It would have been great to have just 3 days to sit and dig into the Disney catalog.
Yeah, that would be really, really nice. What happens if we miss work on the 12th?
I don't know. Wow. A whole workaholic me had never thought of just not going to work on the 12th.
I have to go to work on the 12th because I am taking too much time off around Thanksgiving so we can go to Disney World to see Emma. And teachers do not take time off. They are not supposed to take time off during the school year, and I am. I'm scared.
And I have way too much vacation time. I'm about to lose it. So maybe I will take November 12th off to do Dueling Disney all day, or to do Disney Plus all day. It's the same thing.
It is. Maybe you should for the sake of the podcast.
I'm certainly going to think about it.
Man, what if it was 2 days?
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
okay.
That's how dorky we are.
How was your Disney week?
It was good. So Emma made the decision, as you know, she's at the Disney College program, and she made the decision to come back home so she can choreograph The Little Mermaid Junior, which her play company, the theater company the girls were both with growing up, Journey Theater Arts Group, is doing Little Mermaid Junior, and so Emma's going to come home and choreograph that. So
she's going to choreograph it over January and then go back to school?
She's choreographing it here in Portland, and her college, while it's down about an hour away, does have a Portland campus for certain majors, and business happens to be one of those majors.
Oh, so she'll be here, but still continuing forward school. Okay.
Doing school for a term, and then she'll probably go back and finish up in Corvallis, which is an hour
Well, that's cool.
away.
I mean, I'll have her home for a semester.
A term.
A term.
We do terms.
I apologize. I had no idea. I work at a school that has semesters, and I attend a school that has quarters, so terms is a whole new
No, you're right. It's quarters.
Okay.
It's quarters.
Okay.
I call it terms.
All right.
I can call it whatever I want.
Yeah, you're paying for it.
So we are. Okay, so our topic today.
We should give the warning.
Oh,
The
we will.
warning was
Okay,
very
go ahead.
important to you.
It was. The warning is very important to me.
Oh my, was it important? This was a whole argument at dinner last night, by the way.
Okay. It's true. We did have an argument at dinner. We couldn't record it yesterday because there were people around. Okay, so we did have an argument. Okay, so first of all, let's just preface this by saying we are going to talk about things you shouldn't talk or things you can't tell kids about Disney. So
Yes.
things that might not be as magical, might ruin the magic a little bit. So we're giving you this preface now. If you are listening to this around children, maybe don't listen to this.
Go back and re-listen to one of the old episodes.
Exactly.
They're all perfectly fine to listen to with children.
So no profanity, no adult material.
Yeah, it's not going to be adult Disney. It's just going to be adult Disney.
Yeah, but things that you things that you just aren't sure you want. I don't want kids to hear. Al doesn't probably even care. I don't want kids to hear.
I mean, I care about some of the things we're going to talk about, but some of the things I think our kids are perfectly fine hearing. But
I don't.
The whole topic came from the fact that you were very adamant that kids should not hear about it.
Here's what I'm adamant about, okay? And you tell me
Let's just jump into it.
That you agree with me and not with Al, because I know you will. If you are a Disney fan, you will agree with me. I just know it.
So I'm not a Disney fan.
If you're a Disney fan, you'll agree with me. I just know it. Okay. So when you go to a Disney park, when you visit a Disney park or anything else really, there's one Mickey Mouse, there's one Minnie Mouse, there's one Donald Duck, there's one Cinderella, there's one Ariel. There are not multiple characters. There's one. And so when you see Ariel at Disneyland, you are seeing Ariel at Disneyland. When you are talking to Ariel at Disney World, you're talking to Ariel at Disney World. There's only one.
I find, I'm owning my experience, that I cannot suspend disbelief when visiting the park that these characters are the characters. To my mind, they are people dressed as the characters.
No!
And that's perfectly fine. I enjoy that. But when I am taking a picture with the 17-year-old who's dressed as Mickey Mouse.
Not 17, you have to be 18 to work.
The 18-year-old who's dressed as Mickey Mouse. I enjoy it. I like taking that picture. But my brain doesn't say, this is Mickey Mouse.
It should. It's Mickey.
It's not Mickey.
Because
Mickey is a cartoon.
If you work for Disney or you go to Disney often or anything, then you know that you would never meet someone who plays Goofy or someone who plays Donald Duck. You might know friends of Donald Duck or friends of Goofy, but you don't know anyone that plays him because Goofy is Goofy.
And what you say is 100% true. If you work for Disney. We do not work for Disney. This is not a Disney
when you go
corporate
to
podcast.
The parks,
this is a Disney fan podcast.
And you take a picture with the character, whatever character it may be. You're taking a picture with Cinderella. You are talking with Cinderella. Now, I will admit that Emma the other day went to Disney, went to Magic Kingdom.
Is an employee.
She is an employee, and she had a conversation and pictures with Ariel, and she admitted to me, Mom, this really is uncomfortable for me. And she said, Mom, you're usually the one that talks to all the characters, not me. Mm-hmm. She goes, I felt really uncomfortable having to be all by myself and taking a picture and talking with Ariel. Mm-hmm. Not so much the picture. She just wanted the picture to be snapped and go on.
Yeah. And that might be a relevant component, all by myself.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lot. So when I took my nephew Jake, hi Jake. Yeah. When I took my nephew Jake, Jake was like 3. And he loved all the characters. He loved Mickey. He loves Cars Land. So when he saw Lightning McQueen, it was everything in the world to him. And I didn't say, oh, that's not Lightning McQueen. That's a robot car. Because he's 3.
And it's Lightning McQueen.
When I go by myself, I like taking pictures of the characters. I think the characters are cool. But I'm a 50-year-old man. And I'm standing next to an 18-year-old in a lot of stage makeup. And I just can't do the thing where I'm like, oh, it's Ariel. Hi, Ariel. Like, I don't say, oh, you're not Ariel. I don't do the jerky thing of being like, all right, you're not really the character. But it's creepy for me. It's a weird interaction. And it's just bizarre and uncomfortable. And I try to get out of it as quickly as possible.
Well, you don't have to take the picture by yourself if you're by yourself. Like, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, you don't have to go do it.
Yeah, I actually don't do it that often,
Right.
but you do occasionally happen upon a character, and you're like, and because they do a thing where like Cruella de Vil comes up to you and says,
Yeah.
"Oh, what are you doing?" And you
Yeah.
have to like, and it's so because here's a funny thing: I'm an actor. I love improv. Something about it, it's just so like it's creepy.
It's not creepy.
Super
Emma thinks
creepy.
it's a little creepy too. Emma does okay with the fur characters, so
Sure.
meaning that it's not a face character. So you have your fur characters, which are like Mickey and Minnie and Chip and Dale.
Yeah.
And then you have your face characters, which
Your
are like
Peter
the
Pans, your
princesses,
Cruella de Vils, your Snow White,
Aladdin.
yeah, your Aladdin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my dog.
Your
Thor.
Snow's White.
Your-
There are plural. There are more than one person playing Snow White.
Stop. See, this is what I'm talking about. So this is what I'm talking about.
So you're
when
saying
you're
that
on a
there's
podcast
one
and you're
Snow
doing
White.
public. Yes, I am.
And at 12 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
she's in Anaheim at Disneyland. And 12:15, she goes through a wormhole and is at,
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
at Walt Disney World.
Yep.
That's what happens.
That's what happens.
Yes.
And when you go stand in line and have your picture taken with Mickey, and an hour later, or you're at Disney or Magic Kingdom, and then you're at Epcot, he follows you.
So
He's with you all the time.
when you go to Disneyland, for those of our listeners who haven't been to Disneyland that often, I know Disneyland way more than I know Walt Disney World. Often, when you walk in the park, because they want you to have as many opportunities to interact with the characters and get pictures as possible, when you walk in the park in the morning, Mickey is usually there somewhere right after you walk into the park, and a lot of people get pictures with them.
Yeah.
So let's say you walk into the park. There's a line of people to see Mickey.
Uh-huh.
You just get lucky enough to be the first person in line, and there's about a half hour of people behind you.
Yeah.
You take your picture with Mickey.
Yeah.
You run top
Uh-huh.
speed
Yep.
to Toontown.
Yeah. He
You're
followed
the
me.
first person
Yeah.
in Mickey's barn.
Yeah.
You get a picture with Mickey in Mickey's barn.
Yeah.
He has since disappeared on Main Street. This is
Yep.
what you're telling me.
This is what I'm telling you. This is what I'm telling you.
Agree to disagree.
Agree to D. This is my dog, Thor. Wait. Can you see? That's the barker all the time.
Thor is here to promote Lady and the Tramp, which will be available on Disney Plus on November 12th. We don't have a sponsorship with Disney, but we're happy to.
There. Does he look like he could be a Lady and the Tramp? Or not. I don't know if he would be the tramp.
He'd be like, Lady's cousin.
He would be Lady's cousin because he's a cockapoo, so he'd be Lady's cousin. All right, great. Well, I think that most of our friends will agree with me in that.
I would very much enjoy hearing from our listeners who agree. As much as we enjoy the parks, sometimes the character interaction, a little bit creepy.
Nope.
That's all I'm saying.
Never.
Not that they shouldn't be there, not that we're not going to take pictures. Just a tad creepy is all I'm saying.
Okay, so Al doesn't know what he's talking about. But there are a lot of things that maybe you don't want to talk to your kids about Disney, and a lot of things that we discuss, and you don't want to ruin the magic for them. And so we've come up with kind of a list. Why don't you take the next one? It's about Walt himself.
So, Walt Disney, I am a great admirer of Walt Disney. He is a hero of mine. And one of the things about being an admirer of a real human being who lived and walked on the planet is none of us are perfect. Walt was not a perfect man. He was a man of his time. He was a pretty conservative guy as a red-blooded liberal. Conservatism's not my jam. He really did not like commies.
Nope, he did not.
Not a fan of communists. Definitely participated in some of the blacklist activities. And those are difficult things to sort of wrestle with. And I think it's important if you're going to be a student of Disney, if you're going to really sort of delve in and admire someone, you should know who that person was, warts and all. And so I'm not saying you should never talk to someone about some of the difficult things, but I think for your younger kids, it's probably not, and this is just sort of willful delay of some realities. I don't know that you want to bring a 6-year-old and say, hey, let's talk about the Red Scare and Walt Disney's part in it.
Well, not a 6-year-old, but what about a 12-year-old? Would you tell them?
I think that there is a point in which it makes sense to start talking to kids about things that are more complicated than they first seem. But it needs to be age appropriate, right? So a 12-year-old kid is very different than a 6-year-old kid. And it depends on your kid. When I was 12 years old, I was reading stuff about World War II. I kind of starting getting an inkling of what sort of the politics of the world was. I wasn't as knowledgeable about it as I was when I was 18, but I was definitely more knowledgeable about what it was when I was 6, right? And so I think, knowing your kid, some 12-year-olds are going to be able to say, hey, we should probably talk about some of this problematic stuff. Some is probably not the best time. Now, here's the thing. It depends on sort of what your life experience is. And if, let's say that you were someone whose family was really damaged by the blacklist, by the Red Scare in the 50s and 60s, and that it directly impacted your life.
Yeah.
And then you have a kid who's like, Walt Disney was awesome. You might want to have that conversation a little bit earlier, right? I do think it's important to be able to wrestle with some of the difficult parts of the things we love. I just don't think sometimes kids are in a position to really understand what that really means. And you take a kid that's too young, and you say, hey, this thing that you love actually has sort of a dark root or things of that sort. You take a chance on ruining a thing that brings joy to them. And I'm not saying you never say it, and I'm not a believer in ignorance just because you never want a person to lose a dream. But I do think you got to be really careful about how you roll those things out to kids.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I can remember being a kid and finding out that Walt Disney smoked. And even though I grew up in the 70s when everybody smoked, my parents didn't, and my parents said that it was a bad thing to smoke. So then, therefore, those who smoked were not. Well, yeah, as a little kid, you think,
little kid, you sort of separate the world into good people and bad people.
Exactly,
right?
And if you smoke, then you're bad. So Walt Disney smoked, and I just thought that was the...
And since both my parents smoked, you would have thought they were terrible people.
So weird. No, it's just so different than how we grew up, My parents said, they had friends that smoked, but it was a bad thing.
But they were all terrible. All your parents' friends were terrible.
Well... Don't get me started now. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Particularly those who are listening to us.
Okay, but I will tell you though, when I found out my true hero smoked, which was President Obama. I found out he smoked, and I was quite older by then.
I would think so.
Part of me was like, oh,
you were very disappointed in Obama in the 70s. Yeah.
No, he smoked when he was in office.
I know.
Smoked.
I am aware.
But his kids got him to quit.
His kids got him to quit. And let's also talk about the fact that Walt smoked also was the contributing factor in the fact that he died of lung cancer.
That is true.
And again, to be fair to him, he grew up in a generation of people where smoking was an absolute everyday occurrence for everyone. The health impacts of smoking were not well known amongst the public. They were well known amongst the tobacco companies.
Yeah.
But again, when we look at a historical figure, we have to understand the context within which they existed. It doesn't mean that the bad things they did weren't bad things. But understanding that, like somebody smoking and, who grew up in the early part of the 20th century is not that out of the ordinary. Most people smoke.
Oh, of course. My own parents smoked before I was born. But, no, I get that. Okay, so we're talking about our perception of historical figures then. Let's talk about our perception of current figures in the Walt Disney Company. What happens when... you love Disney, but you know that they're buying the world and taking over the world and are trying to do a monopoly, and really it stands against everything you're for.
Right. The Disney company, the Disney Corporation, is fast becoming a corporation. That I think the last statistic I saw was from the last year. Literally half of the box office profits of the last year went to Disney between Marvel movies and Disney movies and Pixar movies, and I don't know if there was a Star Wars movie in the last year. Anyway, at least one that made money. But not only that, Disney Plus is about to come, and it's a behemoth, and I've already given them $160 of my money. And here's the thing. It's difficult because it is against a lot of the way I think is a responsible way to sort of behave in the world. They have enormous power. That troubles me. And part of the power that they have comes from the money I take out of my paycheck literally monthly to give them that power. I pay for Disney Plus. I have an annual passport.
I know.
We are doing a Disney podcast. So let us not fool ourselves into thinking that we're not part of that machine. So that's it. We're canceling the podcast. And it's been great talking to you. Go join us next week for Communist Today.
Oh, it is hard. I struggle with that. But then I try to look at all the good things, but then I know the bad things can outweigh the good things sometimes.
And both things can be true. Disney brings a lot of joy
know.
to my life. It brings a lot of joy to people's lives. When you go on YouTube and watch videos of little kids meeting,
yes,
Peter Pan for the first time, I don't think the world's a bad place for those things.
I know.
I go to Disneyland and it renews me. It means a great deal to me. I have cried as a result of the activities of the Disney company many, 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 many times, right? So we live in a complex world. Both things can be true at the same time. I very much enjoy many of the things the Disney company produces. And at the same time, I think it's a massive monopoly that is potentially and has been for certain people very harmful to the world.
Great.
I know,
Awesome.
This is gonna be an awesome episode. Everyone's going to leave this episode just feeling fun and fancy free. Fun and fancy free, available on Disney Plus. November 12th.
There are...
Please sponsor us, Disney. We won't say any of these things.
There are things that happen at Disney. People die at Disney parks. In fact, so sad, and thoughts are with them. But somebody died at the Food and Wine 5K.
Was it the 5K?
The other day. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but
I think I was reading it earlier today. It was a 58-year-old, just after the first mile marker, I think had a heart attack. It was 75 degrees out. When we ran our 10K, it was like 90. In the 90s. Those are not easy things, even if you're in good shape.
I know.
I've got a 5K in like 2 weekends, so let's see.
Great.
I don't plan to die, if that's what you're hinting at.
I know.
And you can't have my Disney stuff if I do.
Okay, I'm going to do something now. If you're on audio, this won't make any difference. But yes, I'm on video. So I am going to go look for something here. Keep our friends entertained for 1 second.
Okay, so I'm going to keep you entertained for 1 second. Let's talk about the history of minstrelsy and how Mickey Mouse plays into it. No, we're not going to. We're not going to talk about Mickey Mouse as minstrel, because even I can't really.
Okay,
that's dark.
So these books are old. I wanted to show them to you, though, because these are, if you're interested in more things that you shouldn't really talk to your kids about Disney, but you kind of want to find out. Now, these are old.
So fascinating.
They are so fascinating. But these books are everything to me. They're so old. I think I got them maybe even before Emma was born. I'll have to check the copyright
I'm pretty
date.
sure, yeah.
But one is Mouse Tales, a Behind the Ears Look at Disneyland, and the other one is Mouse Under Glass, Secrets of Disney Animation and Theme Parks. And so there's lots of, here we go. There's lots
available on Amazon.
Amazon.com. I'm sure that maybe, if they're still available, but I know there's lots of books like this.
Please sponsor us, Amazon.
Written by, or edited by someone and taking stories from cast members and people who are familiar with Disney and things. And it's the things Disney doesn't want to tell you. But I find them fascinating.
I'm not going to lie. I've got a morbid curiosity about it. I will read any online article, any book that's like, the things Disney don't want to tell you. I'm 100% down for all the things. And it's kind of morbid, right? We sometimes pay attention to dark things because it helps us feel alive. But stories of accidents.
That's a weird quote. Happen. We sometimes pay attention to dark things because it helps us feel alive.
It's true. It's kind of why people like to read. I listen to murder podcasts. My Favorite Murder, who would probably not sponsor us because they've got to get their own sponsors. But it's a really funny podcast. I like.
It's a funny podcast?
Oh yeah. If you haven't listened to My Favorite Murder, all of our listeners will have heard of My Favorite Murder. You would like My Favorite Murder. It's hilarious.
All right. Well, I'm just telling you, I wanted to tell you, Mouse Tales is copyright 1994, so that tells you how old these are. I need to check and see if there are updated books.
I'm almost positive there are. I'm almost positive these books have been revised and updated since you bought these copies.
Well, this one's 1997, so I'm going to say that
in the last 22 years. We may have revisited these topics.
I do, but I did like it. You're right. Maybe that's what I need. Maybe that'll be a good gift for me. Maybe I should get it before I go to Disney World to go see Emma. And
big hint. I don't know if you
all
picked up on that.
No. But I'm learning a lot.
That'll be a good gift for me.
I'm learning a lot from Emma. She tells us stories, of course, and things she's finding out about working as a cast member there. I didn't realize that Disney World, if you don't know, is the size of San Francisco. Mm-hmm. They have their own fire department. They have their own electric grid system.
They basically have their own local government.
Yeah, they do. But they don't have their own public police department.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so that when something happens, they don't have to put it on public record.
Mm-hmm.
And so when something really bad happens, like somebody dies at the
Mm-hmm.
5K or something, then
Mm-hmm.
yes, they will call them. But I found it interesting because if you remember a couple months ago, there was that viral video that happened about that family that was fighting at Disneyland and just went all wacko on each other.
I hate that video.
And I was like, why isn't that, like, where are the cops?
Yeah.
Why is everybody standing back? It's like nobody got involved. Everybody's standing back. And that's because, well, Disneyland is different. It's Anaheim. But they don't have those.
They don't have police officers
property.
in the park.
And it's just fascinating to me that Disney World, being its own town, so to speak, doesn't employ them because then they don't have to put it. They don't have to put anything on record.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I mean, that's true technically. It just means that the records are kept elsewhere. Right? It's one of those things like a lot of times, and this is related to the things you don't want to talk about Disney, but it's a corrective too. A lot of times people will assume a dark motive on a thing. It doesn't really have a dark motive, right? Where it's like, oh, Disney doesn't, you can't be declared dead at Disney. They'll take you out before they declare you dead at the hospital. And that's true everywhere.
Right.
right? Like you don't get declared like deceased at the site if the ambulance comes. Even if you're unfortunately I have recent family experience with this, even if you've passed away on the street, they're not going to pronounce you until you get back to the hospital. It's not a Disney conspiracy. It's just the way the world works.
No, it's not, but it's also a good way for them to control what the public gets and what they don't.
Absolutely.
Some things you can't help, like if there's a monorail accident or if somebody, now videos whatever's happening, like with that family.
The Skyway that stopped working recently.
Oh my gosh. That is the worst. But I heard it's up and running and I want to ride it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to going on that, but oh man, can you imagine? Hi, we're open. 2 days later. No,
sorry.
We're not.
Sorry, folks. Park's
closed.
Moose out front should have told you.
Yes. Anyway, I don't know. Can you think of anything else that?
Well, there's a couple other things, right? Like, and this is just things that I think you probably just shouldn't talk to your kids about, right? And this is part of this is personal life experience from my parents, who, my mom, I love her. She passed away over 20 years ago. I'd miss her every day.
Is it really that long ago?
Yeah, it was a long time ago. And one of the things my mom did is all she did on Christmas was complain about how much money Christmas was costing.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
And you kids don't appreciate how much right?
Yeah.
And look, I get it.
Yeah.
You get it. It is expensive to take the kids to Disneyland. It costs a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But when you feel so awful about how much money you have to spend to take your kids to Disneyland, you perfectly have every right to do that. I just don't think it's a good idea to ruin a kid's day at Disneyland by spending the whole day talking about, well, you kids don't appreciate it. This is how expensive everything at Disneyland is. I just think that that's something, your parents, if you really can't afford to take the kids to Disneyland, if it's a bad idea financially, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Just don't do it. If you're choosing between Disneyland and the rent, don't go to Disneyland. I love Disneyland. Sometimes I can't go. Can't afford to go.
Yeah.
And I don't have kids, but it's just one of those things of like...
It is depressing. It is depressing.
Yeah. As a parent, keep some stuff to yourself. You don't need to put that on your kids.
No, and like you said your parents did this, and I've heard of other parents doing similar things like at Christmas time, right? They don't want Santa to get the credit for the expensive gifts, right? Because the parents want the credit. I just think that's weird. I know your parents did it. Well, I know other parents that do it like
my parents, I think, did it for a different reason. And I actually really like, and this goes back to, it's probably the core of why the characters are fine with me, but they're characters, is I think, and I think if I am ever lucky enough to have kids, hi viewers,
I don't know. That ship might have sailed.
Like for me, the way Santa was presented to me as a child is that Santa is a fictional character, just like Superman. You love Superman, don't you? Yes, I love Superman. Then we talk about Superman for half an hour. But just like Superman, Santa's a fictional character. You can love Santa Claus. You can watch all the Christmas specials about Santa Claus. He's just not a real guy. I don't feel like I missed out on the experience of Santa by knowing that Santa was fictional. But the other thing that I think I gained by it is my parents, I never had that point in which I was like, hey, you've been lying to me for the last 8, 9, 10
And that happened in my own family when Annika accused me of lying to her for her whole life. Oh, God,
let me tell you
that's
something.
a knife in the heart.
Never happened to me, because you know why? Because Santa was a fictional guy.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. You know me. I love Christmas, and I love Santa. I don't feel like it's diminished my love for Santa a bit to know
Okay.
that Santa was a fictional character.
I'm glad to hear that. We made that mistake with our kids. I know a lot of people choose not to believe in Santa or to say that it's a fictional character. I get that. Yes, that bit me in the butt big time. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But also like Christmas, but even Christmas anyway, and like you said with your mom, but other parents do it. Like, you better appreciate all I got.
That I don't think you. And I love my mom. I miss her every day. But that wasn't necessary.
And it's just, it just takes some of the joy out of it. Now, granted, there's a lot of spoiled brats out there. I get it. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be thankful and appreciative, right? But I don't know. Like you said at Disneyland, you kids better enjoy this. You know how much I paid for this? And the kid's gonna go, no, $1 is a
like
$20.
I don't know how much you paid for this,
and I don't get it.
Right? But it seems like all I'm hearing about is how much it costs, and then you spend the day going, "Oh, Mom, can I have a hamburger? Or is that too much money?"
Oh, kids wouldn't say that. Would they?
No, I'm just talking about my own life experience. I took that on as a child. And to be fair, like, we were pretty poor when I was a kid, right? So, but I did take on some of the guilt around if I had something I absolutely needed, I wouldn't ask for it because, I know we don't have a whole lot of money. And some people, it's the reality is you don't have a whole lot of money. Believe me, I know. I'm with you. I was there. And so I'm not saying that you should pretend like you have money that you don't. What I'm saying is, if money is an issue, and it's so much of an issue that you cannot avoid talking about it your entire Disney trip, it's probably not a good idea to take a Disney trip.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. Okay, we agreed. So we didn't really argue then. We only argued over the first. And I will continue to argue that fact.
I will continue to disagree with you about that fact. And I'm allowed to own the fact that I feel creepy. How's that wrong? You
can feel creepy, but you don't have to announce to people that oh, it's just a person in there, or oh, it's
just been to Disneyland a million times. Have I ever done that in front of little kids?
Yes.
In front of little kids.
I don't know. I wasn't looking, but you do it. You say it.
I say it to the adults and people who already know. No. I don't say it to a 6-year-old.
You don't know who's around you when you say it. You say it to be funny, and you don't care who's around you.
I'm pretty aware of who's around me.
You say it out loud at Disneyland. You don't know that there's not a 6-year-old right behind you. There's plenty of 6-year-olds.
I look around.
No, you don't.
I look around, Jerry.
Oh, I need my puffy shirt. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, obviously there has been some discussion here, so we're dying to know that you agree with me for sure, and not him. Anyway, let us know.
The people who are watching the video are seeing my eyes roll to the literal back of my head.
Right. And so if you are watching the video, this is new for us, putting some things on YouTube. So make sure you comment below on the video webpage. Yeah, I know.
That's what I see video people on YouTube doing. Comment down below. See this link. We don't have any links. This is the only video we've ever done.
Anyway.
Watch the Karate Kid, apparently. I don't know.
Or you can let us know on our website, which is duelingdisney.com, Facebook at Dueling Disney. We're on Twitter at Dueling_Disney. That's the same for Instagram at Dueling_Disney. And then you can share all your Disney fun with us at #DuelingDisney.
Please remain seated until the monorail comes to a complete stop, then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the train. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us, and we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at Dueling Disney. This is the Tomorrowland Podcast Station.
You couldn't have memorized that.
No, I can't memorize it. I got a